The Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be talking about, in full spoilers, the new movie Heads of State, which is an Amazon Prime original that starred John Cena and Idris Elba. And we're going to be covering that in our full spoiler segment. In addition to that, we also have our On the Horizon segment where we talk about what's coming up in the next week. And we have our news segment where we've got one news story, one live action trailer, and like 5 anime trailers because Anime Expo just happened. But let's kick things off with our On the Horizon segment.
On the horizon.
On the Horizon, as I said, is where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. And we're going to start things off with The Institute, which is another Stephen King adaptation about teens with abilities locked in a facility. Kind of makes me think of like the New Mutants. Remember when that movie was coming out and it got like delayed and then put out eventually and then everybody forgot it existed?
I remember that, yeah.
Very similar kind of idea. People with like powers, but like in a shady facility that's kind of exploiting them or whatever.
It's funny because, again, Stranger Things had that, like in the first season.
But this is like the whole thing. Where like Stranger Things, that was like a backstory.
It's like, with Stranger Things though, like I just point that out because that is very like a pastiche of Stephen King. And
yeah, Stranger Things is very like Stephen King and Steven Spielberg influence 80s nostalgia bombs.
Yes. And so it's like, oh yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that's totally like a Stephen King thing.
This is coming up on Sunday, July 13th to MGM+. Next up, we have Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which is coming on Thursday, July 17th to Paramount+. This is not new, just a new season. Donkey Kong Bananza is coming on Thursday, July 17th to the Switch 2. This is like the first Switch 2 exclusive since the system launched.
Yeah, since Mario Kart.
So I think we've already mentioned that we're both day one-ing this.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. For sure.
And we're going to talk about it on the podcast. We're not going to talk about it immediately after it's out because based on when we record the podcast, we basically have very little time to talk about it. So we just decided instead we're going to give it a little time so that we can actually talk about it in more detail. But we're going to talk about that, I think, in like 2 weeks or something. So be on the lookout for that. Next, we have Shadow Labyrinth, which is the Pac-Man Metroidvania game. It's coming on Friday, July 18th to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, Switch, and Switch 2. I think the Switch 2 is a Switch 2 edition, but it doesn't really matter because they're coming out at the same time. And I don't think there's any price difference.
No.
Then we have Eddington coming to theaters on Friday, July 18th. This is one with Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal. We talked about, I think last week, we talked about the second trailer for this. And it's kind of like a modern Western set during like the COVID era. But that's coming out Friday, July 18th. And also on Friday, July 18th, coming to theaters is I Know What You Did Last Summer, Will's favorite movie.
No.
The horror film he is most looking forward to.
No, I don't think so.
But yeah, that is it for our On the Horizon segment. And now we're going to move on to On Beat.
On Beat.
On Beat, again, is where we talk about news and trailers and stuff. And we're going to start off with bad news, which we already talked about last week, but there's a few more details to add to it, which is that the Microsoft layoff saga continues. There aren't new layoffs, just new information about the layoffs has come out. The first bit is that this seems to be related to an AI-first philosophy at Microsoft as a whole, that the Xbox games division is going to be following suit in, and that just makes everything so much grosser.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Microsoft, already earlier this year, they showed off their new AI model for building games called Muse, which
I call
is
it misuse.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm not surprised by this. I was suspecting this. The CEO of Microsoft is all in on AI. They're really trying hard to make people want AI, to like shove it down people's throats.
And Microsoft is in like last place when it comes to AI too, which just makes it not just gross, but kind of funny too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so basically the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, he wants $80 billion more to build AI infrastructure. And supposedly these layoffs are part of cost cutting to get that $80 billion, to get to that number.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. It's evil.
Yeah.
Let's just say what it is. It's evil.
And the next part of this story that we got new information on is that John Romero's studio, Romero Games, was making a game. We knew he was making a game, but we didn't know like any details about it. He was making a first-person shooter, and that's we didn't even know who was publishing it.
No, he was
contractually...
They're contractually not allowed to say who was the publisher for their game.
Mm-hmm.
The way people reasoned it, when the layoffs occurred and news broke out, Romero Games made a statement that said, they had to let go of staff and that funding for their project was pulled by their publisher. They didn't name the publisher, but the timing, seemed coincidental, and people figured out based on publicly available information
that laid
publisher,
off staff told the details.
Yeah, that publisher was Microsoft.
Yeah, so the studio's basically shuttered, the project canceled.
I got backtracked there because Romero Games did release a statement that says the studio is not closed. The studio is still open.
Isn't it pretty much just him and his wife now, though?
I have no idea. I have no idea because, I'm just going by a statement. And basically, they said the game's not canceled so far. They're trying to get funding from another source for the game. So that's currently where things are at.
And there's one more piece of news that I'm just going to add on to this. I didn't even have in the show notes, but it just popped back into my mind. And that's that people in the industry are being very supportive of the studios that are losing people and rightfully calling out Microsoft's bullshit. And one of the companies that tweeted in support was CD Projekt Red, who said that they have a bunch of open positions right now and encouraged people who lost their jobs or other people looking for jobs that are related to these layoffs to look into those positions.
You know what else is bullshit about the Romero Games situation is apparently a source, people working at the company said that the day before Microsoft pulled all funding for their project, Microsoft met with them the day before, did not mention that they were planning on pulling funding or anything yet. In fact, Microsoft executives that day told them that the game was looking great.
Yeah.
And everything was all good. And then the next day they pulled the funding.
Yeah. And it's just not a surprise anymore.
No.
But that's it for our regular news. The really bad news story, we gotta get that out of the way. And then now we're moving on to trailers. As I mentioned, we've got one live action movie trailer to go over, and then Anime Expo happened this last week, so we're going to go over some trailers that were dropped there. Starting off with the one live action one, it's called Descendant, and it's like a UFO story. It's a story about a guy who believes he was abducted by aliens, and it's like a psychological thriller about just kind of him unraveling and when he's back in his regular life through whatever trauma he suffered, whether it's actual aliens or something's going on in his head.
Something's going on in his head. He's having mental breakdown. He's seeing things. He's seeing otherworldly, disturbing, unsettling things, and it's is any of this real? Is he hallucinating? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those psychological thriller / mystery / horror films.
Yeah. It reminds me of Fire in the Sky, which came out in the 90s, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah, looking like a good psychological thriller. We haven't had a lot of psychological thrillers recently, so it's good to see kind of the genre come back. We need more Jacob's Ladders and stuff like this.
Oh, absolutely.
And now on to the anime stuff from Anime Expo, starting out with Virgin Punk Clockwork Girl. I saw that title and I said, what?
It's an anime-ass name.
Yeah.
For an anime, I guess.
It's we've had, steampunk. We had that one game we talked about where we said it's kind of like gear punk.
We've had steampunk, we had gear punk, we have cyberpunk. Now it's time for virgin punk.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, it's girls, some kind of robot android kind of thing going on, action stuff. Looks like pretty high production value. Looks good.
Very high production value. Action starring apparently a robot girl who's designed to kick ass. And she does.
And take names.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks like a lot of fun.
Next we got what's probably your favorite trailer of the week.
Why would this be my favorite trailer?
Rooster Fighter.
Yes. Oh my god. So I was a little confused. I was like, oh, okay. Is Rooster like a side character? No, he's the superhero. He's the hero. And like, apparently like he's fighting demons and they're like these, like he's a rooster. Like he's a normal rooster as far as like anybody can tell from this trailer. Like he's fighting demons and he's got like these amazing fighting skills. And the other characters are birds too. There's this little like bird chick that's like following him around.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another like female bird too that like slaps him. So like the characters are birds.
There's like humans too.
There's
so
human
it's not like
characters,
it's just
too.
the animals or something. There's human
I don't know if
characters, too.
like they only show one and it's like for a gag, so I don't know like how central or important human characters are going to be in this.
It looks like they're supposed to be kind of helpless, that they're like the kind of people being saved, basically.
Yeah, they're the people being saved from the demons by this rooster. I thought, this is wild. This is like so crazy.
The cannibalism gag was great with
yes.
the one human girl trying to offer him fried chicken, talking about how great it is, and he's just got a look of shock on his face, and he's just like, is she for real?
Right, yeah.
It just looks like a lot of fun. There is a anime out right now. Have you heard of it? I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my watch list, and it's this season, and it's called Night of the Living Cat.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's basically Night of the Living Dead, but the people turn into cats instead of zombies.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm all for like absurdist, humorous takes on existing genres.
Oh, same. Me too.
So that looks good. Then we got a trailer, a teaser really, or just a reveal basically, for Daemons of the Shadow Realm, which is from a story from the creator of Fullmetal Alchemist. I believe it was a manga that she had written that's being adapted. And this is being done by Aniplex, Square Enix, and Bones. So a lot of heavy hitter names. Looks great animation-wise, but it's just kind of a reveal. There's really nothing else. It's just basically like, look at all the talent involved. Here's 2 seconds of footage.
Right.
But it's a big project, so it's worth mentioning just because it's something to keep our eyes on.
It's a big project. Obviously, the animation quality looks top notch. Yeah, a lot of big names involved in this. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely one to keep an eye on.
Next, we got a trailer for the remake of Fist of the North Star, a new adaptation of Fist of the North Star. So here's what I have to say first off, is that Fist of the North Star was my first real anime. Like, not counting stuff that I didn't know was anime. Like, you know, Robotech and stuff like that, you know.
You have to count the stuff that you didn't know was anime. No, I'm kidding.
It's just, it was so adapted. It was so heavily localized that it wasn't even really reminiscent of the original anime anymore.
Oh yeah, I know. I know.
That's basically how almost all anime that was mainstream before like the Toonami days, basically. All the like mainstream anime stuff that was like airing on TV and stuff was basically just completely recreated. It wasn't really reminiscent of the original versions anymore. And so when I first started getting into anime, like in junior high, I had a friend that kind of introduced it to me, and he would just tell me about it. Like I couldn't watch, like he'd talk about it and I'd be like, okay, that's great, but it's not like I can watch any of this. And then I decided I wanted to watch some, so I bought a movie for Fist of the North Star. I literally had to buy from a comic book store. I had to order it, and then the guy at the comic book store went to a convention and bought it, and then brought it back to the store and I picked it up. That's how I got my first anime.
Oh, wow.
And it was the Fist of the North Star movie, the animated movie, and that kind of started my love affair with anime movies. So they're making a new adaptation. It kind of looks like that Berserk animation thing with like, you know, CG based basically.
Right,
so,
yeah, it's CG, which is
I don't know how I feel about
disappointing.
that.
Yeah. It's disappointing because it's like, man, I'm not like really a big fan of like that CG look.
I think if they did it that kind of like good mix of 2D and CG that you see in something like the new JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series or something, if it had that kind of like really hyper stylized where it occasionally used CG or something, I think that could have worked for this, because like Fist of the North Star and JoJo kind of, they go hand in hand with these like hyper masculine characters and stuff, you know? It kind of like works in that same way, but it is kind of disappointing to just see like that Berserk treatment, because this is kind of like people that know Berserk know like that, how that anime like just kind of ruined it, you know, the CG version of it.
Right, oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm going to stay a little judgment free. I'll check it out when it comes out and see if it's actually worth watching. But it's been a while since we've had like a real version of this North Star. Everything looks super dated that's been done with that. There was a TV series and a movie, but they're all very old and very, very, very dated. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that turns out, but I'm not too optimistic after all the CG stuff.
It's problematic in 2025.
And then the last anime trailer was also just very much a tease. There's some little flashes you can see of things that are interesting, but this was a sequel season, but an entirely new cast for a series that we talked about on this show before, and one of my favorite animes that's based on a Western property, and that's Cyberpunk Edgerunners 2, which we knew they were doing some kind of animated thing. We didn't know any details. They basically had announced before that based on the success of Edgerunners that they were doing another Cyberpunk animated project, and that's all we knew. We didn't know it was going to be Trigger again, which it is. This is Trigger again. We didn't know that they were going to call it Edgerunners again. We didn't know, like, for all we knew, this could have been like a CG anthology thing, like the Predator thing that we talked about last week, you know? It could have been like that, basically, for like Cyberpunk. We just had no idea what it actually was. But knowing that it's Trigger again is exciting. There might be references to past characters, but based on the story of Edgerunners, it wouldn't really make sense to follow those characters. And based on what we saw, it doesn't seem like any of the characters we did see in this trailer are reminiscent of anything we'd seen before. There is a character, seems like maybe the main character that's got like a camera, so maybe it's about like a budding journalist in Night City. It's like a young photojournalist or something.
Okay.
But we don't really know too terribly much else. It's just the news that like, oh, this is the Studio Trigger.
Yeah.
This is Studio Trigger. It's the same showrunner that, is from CD Projekt Red that's writing the story for it and everything. One thing that's outside of the trailer is that the showrunner that works for CDPR that's doing this said that it's going to be sad again, which is fitting. Cyberpunk stories are supposed to be kind of fucked up and sad and depressing. Mm-hmm. The whole kind of point of Cyberpunk stories is that you're like raging against the system, but the system eventually wins.
Right.
That's kind of the motif of all Cyberpunk stories, And so if it didn't have that, it really wouldn't feel like a Cyberpunk story.
Sure.
So he said it's going to be depressing again. He said this one's going to be bloodier, though. He said it's going to be a bit more like gory and bloody than the last one was.
I don't think we needed it to be more gory or bloody. I thought
we'll have to see
one was good.
We'll have to see what they do with it. But I mean, like I said, if my prediction that the main character in this is like a budding photojournalist, then that makes sense because Night City's basically like a war zone. So we'd see it from that perspective, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just really excited that they're doing another Edgerunners. I'm not one of those people that's like, they need to go back and reveal that David survived and then have all the characters come back. And it's like, no, that would ruin it.
that would be stupid because that would ruin the entire point of like the story for the first season. David being alive would literally like ruin the first season and like just make no sense and be stupid.
Yeah.
Great.
The ending of Cyberpunk Edgerunners was so good.
Yes, David was a good character that we got invested in. Like that's the whole point of a story. Like they did their jobs. It doesn't mean that we need to like have this character around indefinitely. We can let go. That's fine.
Yeah. It's a great character and that's what made it such a tragic story with him,
Right.
And that's what made it so powerful. And that's what made the ending so good is because you end up caring about the character and stuff. But like if they reversed course and brought him back, that would just, it would just ruin it.
Exactly.
So I'm really glad that they're not planning to do that. So I'm interested, like we still don't have anything on like when this is coming. We don't know like what's going on.
This is basically just an announcement that's happening.
Yeah.
That's like, all it is.
We knew it was happening before, but we didn't know the details and now we have the details, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So all the stuff, the photojournalism stuff is just like my guessing based on character art and stuff that was in the trailer. Nothing else. But yeah, I'm just super excited because I'm a huge fan of Edgerunners. But that's it for our On Beat segment. And now we're going to move on to full spoilers. This week on Full Spoilers, we are talking about Heads of State. This is a Amazon Prime original movie starring Idris Elba and John Cena, where John Cena plays President Will Derringer, the President of the United States, and Idris Elba plays Prime Minister Sam Clark of the UK. And it's directed by, let me try to pronounce this guy's name, Ilya Naishuller, who directed Nobody, that movie with Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, okay.
So he directed this movie. That kind of makes sense with the action kind of style and the sense of humor a little bit. I can kind of see a similarity to.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, this comes from the writing team behind Citadel and a newcomer writer named Harrison Query, who I couldn't find any real credits on. So, Prime Minister on Air Force One, it gets blown up in the air. They survive. They're trying to figure out what happened and get back while surviving. And they're in, where are they?
No, they're in Eastern Europe. That's what
they landed over Eastern Europe and they're trying to kind of fight their way back, and they run into some people along the way, and it's just like a kind of fun action
shenanigans. Movie. It's a fun action movie. Jack Quaid has a bit role in this.
You watched the post-credit scene, right? Or the
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Which seemed unnecessary.
You're like, okay. The sequel.
It's not for a sequel, but they acted like it's like the Avengers. Like, she shows up, she's like, I need you for a mission. It's like...
And why was she wearing an eye patch?
Yeah, Quaid, the guy who was like in the movie for like 5 minutes. Like, okay, sure.
Very memorable character, though.
It is a very memorable character, though. Yes,
he was just a fun character. I loved his action scene with him using the computer monitor to see through the camera where the people were and then blasting him through the walls.
Yes. I want to say, like, the highlights for me were obviously just coming up with another movie to give John Cena and Idris Elba an excuse to, like, riff off of each other was great.
They have great chemistry together.
Their chemistry in, like, the Suicide Squad was, like, one of the best parts of that movie.
Yeah, the whole kill competition when they went through the rebel camp, only to find out that the rebels were the people they were supposed to be aligning with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was great. So, like, I love those two, like, just bouncing off of each other. So, right there, that's a win for me. Mm-hmm. And, like, I mean, the movie isn't, like, anything amazing. It doesn't do, like, anything. The action pieces are cool. There's nothing elaborate like a John Wick film, though.
No, it's just a fun action movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not to the scale of fun and wackiness of, like, say, Bullet Train.
No.
But it's not trying to be like John Wick either. Like, it's not trying to be serious. It's more along the lines of, like, Nobody, which is the same director, so.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It goes for comedy and goofiness, but it stops short of being like a full zany.
Yeah.
It's not like a zany action film.
The comedy kind of endears you to the characters, and then you kind of have fun watching it, and you care about the characters, but it's not like you're like heartbroken or, you know, angry or anything by something that's happening. It's just kind of like you're endeared to them, you know?
Oh, yeah. Stephen Root has like a pretty small but significant role in this. Mm-hmm. I thought he was good. He was good as, I guess, like the hacker or whatever that the arms dealer had employed to hack into the intelligence mainframe, which has a name, but I can't remember it off the top of my head, and I don't feel like looking it up. It's just the intelligence mainframe thingy, like, it doesn't matter what it's called.
One of the main characters is played by Priyanka Chopra Jonas, who plays the character of Noelle Bissett, and
yes,
she's kind of like the agent that
we're introduced to in the film, actually.
Yeah. She's the one. She's like pretending to be a reporter, and it's for this mission, and you find out the little quirk of her character is that she's obsessed with puns, and then you basically, her whole team gets assassinated. It looks like she gets killed. This leads to one of my favorite parts of this movie, and they do the trick twice. And I like that they did it twice. I almost wish they'd done it 3 times, because it's a cool trick, and I think it's really well done. Which is when she comes back, she kind of comes back right when she's needed, most. Saves the day, and then they say, like, you know, I thought you were dead. She said, I thought you were dead. And then they're like, what happened to you? And they go through this quick montage thing that's just, like, really well edited and put together of showing kind of her adventure back to that point. Like, from the point where she was shot to the point where she saves them. And it was a really cool sequence, and then they did it again with Idris Elba's character, after he's assumed dead at one point and then comes back. But I love, like, the shot, like, they had her, like, on the motorcycle, and they cut to, like, different locations where the motorcycle was framed in the same spot. That kind of felt like Bullet Train-esque.
Yes, that did, for sure.
So
yeah, they only do it twice in the movie, though, but yeah.
it'd be cool if they did it a third time, but like did the third one just kind of in a more like funny way. They do the thing with the two characters where they show like, oh, how they were able to survive the incident, how they were able to get the vehicle that they were in, and how they wound up in the time. And then they go to the third one, and it's like, what happened to you? And it's just like he's sitting on a couch eating potato chips or something. It's cut the same way, but it's like nothing important actually happening.
Yeah.
That would have been like really kind of funny. I wish they had done something like that. That would have made it like really pay off. But I think the sequences were just cool in general. Like I really like the way they were shot and edited together, those two scenes. So, but yeah, just a fun action movie. There's not too terribly much else to say about it than that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's a fun film. I would recommend it. It's 2 hours, but it's a breezy 2 hours. It's the kind of movie like you just turn off your brain and you just watch the leads have fun.
Yeah.
That's it.
Pretty much, yeah. Any vehicle for any halfway competent vehicle with John Cena and Idris Elba as the leads works for me. So
absolutely, I agree.
But yeah, also the main villain in this, Paddy Considine from House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he plays the arms dealer.
So it was pretty cool, all things considered. I liked his end too.
Yes, with the Cupid statue.
Yeah,
which is called back to like another joke, like when Idris Elba and John Cena's characters, they're in a forest. Idris Elba's talking about Jim Strong and Strong, and John Cena's like, oh yeah, I'll rip a tree out and beat you to death with it. And Idris Elba's just like, alright, do it. So it's a callback to that because at the end of the movie, like, John Cena's, he like literally, he rips the Cupid statue from its base, right off of its base and throws it at the helicopter.
I just like the way they did the helicopter crashing because...
Yes.
And the way they had like the arms dealer's facial expression when he realized what was happening.
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, really?
They do it like slow, it's like a slow motion shot, so like, yeah.
And then it just hits the helicopter and the helicopter just drops straight down and explodes. It's great.
Yes, it's fantastic.
So yeah, all in all, it's just a fun movie. It's got cool action scenes. A lot of them are they're well done. They're well executed. Nothing on like the scale, like we said, of like a John Wick or something. But I mean, what is on that scale?
Yeah, right, exactly.
But it's just a good, fun action movie that came to streaming. I think this could have actually done okay in theaters. Probably wouldn't have like broken records or anything, but it probably would have done okay. So I feel a little bad for the people involved that they didn't get a theatrical run. But because of that, we got to watch it and talk about it on the show. So it all comes together for that. But that is it for Heads of State and our full spoiler section. Next week, we're going to talk about Sinners, which is available right now on Max, or I guess it's now HBO Max. It's officially changed over. So Sinners is the Ryan Coogler directed vampire movie with Michael B. Jordan playing twin brothers that takes place in the South, in the old racist South. So there you go. I just found out something interesting that they had made all these costumes for the Blade movie that never ended up happening. That's still like Marvel's still looking into eventually making.
Oh yeah.
And those were the costumes they used in Sinners.
Yeah,
like they bought them on the cheap. I thought that was kind of funny.
That happens often in Hollywood productions. I mean, they're just like period costumes, so like they're nothing specific, and they needed period costumes. I guess Marvel wasn't using them, so they got them cheap.
Yeah, I just think that's fun. It just adds to the kind of mythos of the behind the scenes stuff of this movie that includes all the crazy stuff with like
it adds to the behind the scenes mythos of how like sad it is that Marvel can't make a Blade movie.
I was just gonna say that it's kind of the cool aspects of Sinners that, you know, Ryan Coogler got such a good deal with Sinners where he basically is going to regain the rights to the movie over time, and it's going to be under his ownership and that kind of thing. There's like a lot of just cool stuff if you look into
really
it.
Cool. Yeah.
And I think that just adds to that story. It makes it kind of interesting. It is sad about Blade though.
I don't even think Marshall Ali is going to like still be Blade by the time that movie gets made. Like
they did an interview recently where they were talking to, it was for the new Jurassic World movie that him and Scarlett Johansson were in, and they talked about their combined Marvel experience, and he said, well, keep me out of it. I haven't been in any. He actually has been in
It was like a voice at the end of the movie.
A voice at the end of Eternals, but that's it.
I was like, man, like, that's such good casting, and like, they're like really fumbling it hard.
Yeah, I think they're just fumbling the story. They just can't get the story right.
Yeah.
But hopefully that eventually gets fixed and they can still work with Mahershala Ali, because that would be great.
That'd be
But, I mean,
fantastic.
by the
yeah.
time they get to it, I mean, he'll be like 97.
Right? Yeah, exactly. They'll be like instead of like Old Man Logan, old Man Blade.
Yeah. And then they'll finish that movie and they still won't have done Shang-Chi 2.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's it. So next week we're going to be doing Sinners. So check that out on HBO Max and watch along with us because that's going to be our topic. So until then, thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check us out with those same handles on Blue Sky. You can also go to our website, thetotaliscreen.com. If you go to our website and open up a container store for any of our podcast episodes and scroll down to the bottom paragraph, you'll find all the relevant links to our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, all that stuff. All of our social accounts are all there. So check that out. You can also subscribe to the podcast to your favorite podcast client of choice like Apple Podcast or Pocket Cast, and the entire backlog of our podcast as well as additional content is available on our YouTube channel as well. So check that out. Thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.